Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
What's up?
We're here for Wrestling Through the Years. I'm Dizzle. I'm
I'm Dutchy.
here with Big Dutch. And we're here with Money E. How you doing, Eric?
Pretty good. How was your guys' week?
It was great. It was delightful. We're out here. We're out here hanging in, hanging tough, staying strong.
Did
And
you guys watch any wrestling this week? I mean, as I said, before the show, I didn't watch
I watched a
wrestling
little bit of
besides
Raw.
ECW.
I watched some Raw.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of Raw. I mean, I caught up on the highlights.
I saw clips of AEW. There wasn't much good this week.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's why
NXT I didn't see much of. But I thought it was a fine week in wrestling. What did I like on Raw? What matches did we see?
I know we saw Braun Breaker and Sheamus, and we saw.
I might have to give it to.
We saw the mixed tag.
We saw the mixed tag. Yeah, with Gable. I think I'm gonna have to give my worker of the week to Rhea Ripley because her comeback was cool.
Yeah.
And her coming back and saying War Games, and even though she has a face injury, she still headbutted Liv. It was sick as fuck.
Yeah.
I'll give a worker of the week from not worker of the week, but worker from the pay-per-view. How's that?
That's not the segment. Follow the damn rules.
Who's your worker of this pay-per-view that we're gonna do that we haven't even announced yet? Heatwave 98, by the way, ECW.
Yeah.
A lot to choose from. Probably maybe RVD.
Okay.
Tommy Dreamer.
Listen, and I'm excited to get, and we can gloss over worker of the week. I mean, did you give one?
I really don't have one. So as much as I am going to give Eric a hard time, which will never change, time until the day you let me fire him.
I mean, Gable wrestled a good match. Naomi and Jax in the main event because last week's SmackDown counts.
Yeah,
that was amazing. That was last week, right?
Yeah.
Jackson fucking Naomi tore the motherfucker down, and it was a great main event. And I thought that was a phenomenal women's main event match, title match, big money match. I thought it was good, and so I could go to Naomi as well. I thought she did a great job, and I thought Nia Jax, she's just turning into a really good monster heel for the women. I know she has her haters, but I think she's gotten extremely better within the last, 9 months.
Yeah.
I've seen a total transformation from her, and she's kind of become like, not only has it seemed like she shed a few, it seems like she's really kind of honed in the ring and had some good matches. So, yeah, I'd like those two women's performances as well. But we'll move on to ECW. We're going to the extreme. We're in Philly. We're all Philly based. I mean, me and Doug are originally Buffalonians, but we're here in Philly, and we have never done an ECW pay-per-view. In the 5 years of what our old name, Wrestling Through the Years, Unscripted, whatever we were doing, we've never done an ECW pay-per-view. We've talked about some guys, and we've brought up the Dudleys and Shane Douglas and Taz and all these important figures in ECW, but we haven't really talked an ECW pay-per-view. So this is a first, and it's insane because we are Philly sports. That's what we started as.
Exactly. And New York is don't forget, New York is ECW country too, so.
Yeah. And I mean, Buffalo, the Extreme went to Buffalo a couple times. They had a Buffalo street.
Times, yeah.
I think New Jack had a Buffalo street fight. I forgot who it was.
Yeah, they used to have house shows at the old Burt Flickinger Center.
You can dig it.
Yeah,
but I think it used to. I think if you're a hardcore wrestling fan, you like ECW. Of course, it's like they say, it's a niche audience, but it's a big brand too.
Yeah.
But it was a low. I mean, everyone. I just explained to a friend of mine who's more of a casual fan now, and he's got into it, like in the pay, like the Cody story and everything. And I was telling him about ECW and the whole history of ECW and Paul Heyman and what he built. And I think this pay-per-view is one of the best like the best total package showing you that we've seen. Like that for us for our first ECW pay-per-view, I think we picked a hell of a pay-per-view with Heatwave 98.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because this had almost everything except for a legitimate world title match. This had everything, and it had the big fight feel, and even for the FTW title on the line with Bam Bam and Taz, that had the world championship match feel, and the street fight was a great way to close. So, but we're gonna get into it. I can't wait to talk Heatwave 98. This ECW, if you are a fan of ECW, and like everyone knows the Philly Bingo Hall, the convention center. Now we've been there. All of us have been in there, the ECW arena. ECW is a staple of wrestling, and I hate to be the guy that says that, but the Attitude Era borrowed heavily from ECW, and I've always said this, and I know they like Vince is like, oh, I didn't really watch it, but it's like it's a lot of the same shit, like fucking. The tables and the putting the girls through tables and the fucking putting the hole in the ring and the fucking crucifying guys and all sorts of shit that you would see on ECW television later on. And then what they said wouldn't make it nationwide cable mainstream audience. Later on, you see it from Vince doing the same fucking thing to a nationwide audience.
Beer drinking. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, the beer drinking fucking Sandman was doing the same shit Steve Austin was doing. I mean, Steve Austin was there's a little more to that character, and Steve's a better wrestler. So don't get me wrong on that. Like I'm not here to shit on the Attitude Era. Steve Austin built what he built, and he's the biggest draw in the history of wrestling for a fucking reason. But Sandman was drinking the beer and telling people to fuck off and hitting them with kendo sticks, and you had Extreme, and you had beautiful women, and you had the shit you would see later on at WWE television, you would see right here on this pay-per-view even.
Yeah.
You want to talk about hot crowd. ECW always had the hot crowd.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, because they believed in everything Heyman was telling them. And that's the thing. When you believe a bullshit artist, which is what Heyman is, and was and always will be, like he was kind of that, the preacher that could get you to fucking donate, your $50 paycheck into the collection plate. He was the preacher that could get you to, dip your penis in gold and, all this outlandish bullshit. But he just, but yeah, he was just so good. He was so convincing. And he convinced guys to take these outrageous bumps. Yeah. I mean, more than likely, for all the bumps New Jack took over the years, and by the way, there was a lot of them, more than likely, he only got paid like $80 a bump.
Yeah, well, that's what I was. A lot of these guys did it for free too. They were putting themselves through fucking hell for free.
Yeah,
and all this. And Paul was a great storyteller and the creative end. If someone else just could have, the big what if in wrestling, if someone else could have ran the business end and you let Paul go ham on creative and marketing and shit, and just see what happens. They fucking. But I'm not here to comment. I don't know the business and only what they tell us. But fucking. The creative side, he always had it jam-packed and ready, and he had stars, he had the heavy-hitting matches. This pay-per-view is everything. Yeah. It has wrestling, pure wrestling on it. It has extreme shit. It has underdog stories. It has a brutal street fight. It has cool moments. This pay-per-view has everything. Big fight feels, everything you want out of a pro wrestling event. This contains.
Francine's tits.
But she is a beautiful woman, the queen of extreme.
I mean, she was. Now it's a little.
And then,
well, she's not as bad as a lot of women.
Sunny truck driver, but
well, I mean, we all age. I mean, look at you and me. I'm 27, for God's sakes, right?
Yeah. I'm still waiting for you to go bald.
Oh, I'll hate you forever.
You got the blonde chick with
then I got to hit the gym.
Dino. What was her name?
Sunny, Tammy Lynn Stitch is her name.
And she's on this card.
Yeah.
Kimona's not there, is she?
No, Kimono left in '96.
Yeah, there were some gorgeous women on this card.
Oh yeah, Dawn Marie. And she came back to referee this NXT show.
Yeah.
which was held in that arena we've all been
Did you
to.
put your thing in yet?
I'm gonna put it in. Can we do the show? But fucking no, I think that ECW it had the total package and it really captured it with this show. But comment on that.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing about this particular show, because this is around the time where Vince and Bischoff started to realize. I mean, because Bischoff, he raided the locker room in '95 and '96. Like he had been raiding the locker room over the years. Once he saw that an act was getting over, he's like, "All right, I got to have it." And then Vince was even doing the same thing, because Vince took Too Cold Scorpio, made him Flash Funk. Took Terry Funk for a little bit. Earlier in '98, he took Al Snow. Like the other two promoters are starting to realize, hey, we got some talent there's some talent in ECW. We might want to take them. And the talent is just like, well, fuck. If we go there, we're going to get paid. And, when you work, you kind of want to get paid.
Of course we do.
Yeah. But, I mean, sometimes the bosses might not want to pay you, but that's the thing is that, like, a lot of these guys that were in ECW, yeah, they bought into Paul's bullshit, but at the end of the day, they're also like, you know what? We are, we want to make money. We're not necessarily making money here. And so we're going to, go where we can make money.
I'll ask you guys this. Do you think ECW would work in today's wrestling?
They would have to tone down a lot of the stuff. They would have to tone down, like they wouldn't be able to hit the women anymore. Well, I mean, give Trump a year to be in office and then it might work. But like you wouldn't really be able to hit women anymore. I mean, it would kind of depend. Like they would have to get a we good?
Yeah, you got an extra sandwich though.
Oh, cool. And Sharon got her stuff?
I think so.
There you go. Like you would have to go on a network like an AMC or
MTV.
Well, you'd have to go on a network like like what The Walking Dead was on or Sons of Anarchy, because they were allowed to get away with some very fucked up shit.
Yeah.
Like FX, I'll use that as an example. Like ECW would do well. The old ECW would do well on FX because of all the stuff you're able to get away with now. Yeah. Because you had shows like Nip Tuck and Sons of Anarchy. Like I'll never forget when Grandpa started watching Nip Tuck. Yeah. He goes, "Oh, I found this new show on FX. It's called Nip Tuck, and all they do is fucking." And I'm like, "Really? That's all they do?" He goes, "So it's 6." I go, "So it's 60 minutes of fucking."
I love Nip Tuck. That was a great show.
And he's like, "Well, it's not 60 minutes of fucking, but the main plot points are fucking." And I'm like, "Okay."
Hey, we'll be watching this program.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right.
It was a great show.
When does it come on?
They were tit surgeons.
Yeah. I go, when does it come on? And he told me what time, so we stayed.
Watch a little Nip Tuck.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into Heat Wave.
Yes, sir.
We're in Dayton, Ohio at the Hara Arena. We got 4,400 in attendance. It is August 2nd.
Seemed like more, didn't it?
They were the king of getting small arenas and packing them fucking full. Exactly. So the crowd always looked fucking big. Like Paul was the master of that. That's what I will compliment the business end of that, because that was smart. AEW needs to start doing that.
Well, I mean, because they don't do a good job at hiding the fact that there's only 5 people there.
Yeah, see it empty seats suck. It's bad for television. If they can get fucking 3,000 people in a small ass building and they're just all packed together, that'll look fucking cool for an AEW for the ambiance. It doesn't need to be a big arena with fucking a quarter of the tickets sold.
They did it. If they do like a Dynamite at ECW arena, that would be badass.
Yeah. Can they do the big arenas? Yeah.
They can for pay-per-views. Because they do sell the pay-per-views.
They can do them every once in a while. The stadium show in Texas is going to be a big proof of that. Can they do it in the States like they do it overseas? We'll see. But they got lots of time to build up to that. It's going to be fun to see if they... Like Moxley did an interview today, and he's like, the generations on it, like, we're fucked if we can't... It's going to set the business back 20 years. I don't know if this is an official quote from him, but I heard he said this. I read it online. Hopefully it's real. But he's if it's not, then take it with a grain of salt. But he said, we'll set the business back 20 years if this thing fails. It's on our shoulders to fucking make it happen. And I believe him. And he's kind of trying to do that with his storyline right now. I don't like the timing of it because you're doing a takeover right after a takeover. And I don't love that storytelling wise.
Yeah,
because you're doing I thought we were supposed to buy the Jacksons, Perry, and Okada as the guys running the place.
Yeah, but that didn't work. So they're like, all right, that didn't work. So let's try.
They didn't push it too hard though. They got like one blood and guts out of it.
They got at Anarchy in the Arena, and then they got the War Games.
Yeah.
And then that was it. And the fact that it really didn't work. But now, with this and the fact that Moxley and crew are basically, they're trying to kill the company literally by fucking putting plastic bags over everybody's fucking face.
Yeah, and we'll see. And he's a better, more believable of the only thing is and a lot of people have said it, so I don't want to take credit for the idea, but you got to work Renee in somehow. She can't just be there doing interviews while her husband's killing people. That has to be addressed at some point, storytelling wise.
Well, they tried to ask her that the other day on Busted Open, and she's like, I don't get involved.
She needs to get involved.
And here's the thing: is that you look at Renee, like you get Marina Shafir involved, and that's because Jon Moxley has been kind of mentoring Marina Shafir.
Yeah.
Now mentoring her in the fact of saying, "Hey, you need to walk around barefoot because I like your feet."
Have her beat her up once. Have Marina fucking lay her in the middle of the ring. She's talking to Moxley, and she's like, "Come on, John, please." And then he's just not listening. And then Marina comes in and beats the shit out of her, and then write her off, and then have her. But the fact that she's coming out and doing interviews after her husband is fucking choking people, and she's like, "So how do you feel about this next match?"
It's right after too.
Yeah, and it's like just in terms of like the storytelling and the way we're supposed to watch the show, it kind of falls a little flat and feels a little weird. So and she's a great interviewer, but when her husband's doing a heel gimmick like this, where he's the fucking guy that's running the show and taking it over, she's a part of the show, so she's got to, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
Gene Okerlund. I mean, if he had to do it, he would. Did they ever work him in a big storyline?
I mean, he had the one match where he teamed with Hulk to take on George Steele and Mr. Fuji.
So there you go. They even worked Gene in. So you gotta take an ass whooping from Marina once, write her off TV, just to make it make sense if you don't want to tell a big story. But tell a big story if you'd like to.
Exactly.
They told big stories in Heatwave '98. The main story going into this, I would say, before we tackle any of the matches, there's two main storylines, right?
Yeah.
And I know you said RVD's the main event and the MVP of this thing. But he's not even the main story is Taz and the triple threat and fucking and Douglas and Bigelow, and then it's the Dudleys fucking running roost and beating the shit out of people and fucking running the show. It's those two. That's your A and your B, and then you just have so much good shit underneath. And the dark match that we didn't see is the tag team match with the hardcore chair swinging freaks, Balls and Axel, against the FBI, Little Guido, our Nunzio, our dearly beloved, and Tracy Smothers, who is a
Oh,
legend.
I didn't see this one.
No, it's a
yeah,
dark
because
match.
it was a dark match.
Only the crowd
Ah.
saw it. But but I could assume it was a fun one. We do start it off with Just Incredible, along with Nicole Bass, Chastity, and go against Jerry Lynn. And the match goes almost 15 minutes. And it's a decent opener, and it's wrestling. It starts it off with wrestling. They don't go too hardcore with this one. What do you think, Eric?
I thought it was a good basic match. Jerry Lynn is underrated. His feud is he's an underrated wrestler. I think he doesn't get appreciated around wrestling that much. I mean, hardcore fans know him, especially with his feud with RVD. But I thought it was a solid opener. Just Incredible was pretty good too in the ring.
Yeah.
I thought they had good chemistry.
I thought it was a decent opener. This is probably the one I was least invested in. I don't know if it's just the way I watched the pay-per-view, if because me and Doug were a little chatty at the beginning and before we really got locked in. This match was kind of we were watching it, but it wasn't as important viewing as the rest for me. And
I
don't think it's at fault of either guy. I think they both tried their best. But at the end of and there was some fun shenanigans with Nicole Bass and everything, and fucking Jerry Lynn hitting her in the non-existent plums, and by
the way, R.I.P. Nicole Bass.
R.I.P.
We should say that.
R.I.P. And that big tombstone off the fucking.
I will say the crowd was into this, and probably into
the crowd enjoyed the opener, and the crowd was into it, and it was decent wrestling. And the like I said, the tombstone off the top, fucking
that's incredible.
That's incredible. That was a great finish right there. And I know that's finished, but that just the way he hit it on Jerry Lynn, and that it was just sold perfect. There was the little things in that I just really enjoyed.
Jerry Lynn didn't win.
Yeah, he had a good effort. He did very well, but Jerry Lynn was a good job guy sometimes.
Yeah.
He was a good guy to get people over. He could get a good big win every once in a while, but he made Just Incredible look incredible. And I thought it was a decent match. Like I said, it was one of my least favorites on the card, but I really enjoyed this card. So I would still, if we're ranking this, we're going to start ranking it out of 5 now.
Okay.
We're going to change our ranking system. And I'm going to give it 3.5 stars.
I'll give it a 3. Solid 3.
I'll give it 3.5.
I thought it was a very decent match, but yeah, I thought there was better on here.
So we're only going out of 5 now, so we don't have to count that high.
And then 10 for the
and that's the reason I say thank you.
Yeah. Well, and there's too much to judge it on through 10, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
5's just a better scale on how the match really is.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So that's what we will begin doing now. Yeah, give it a 3.5. Next up, and I do think that this is a card that gets better as it goes along. Because the second match wasn't my favorite either, but it was another pretty good wrestling match with Chris Candido, along with his real life wife, Tammy Lynn Sitch. Sonny, you love her, you know her. Back in the day, she was a fucking bombshell, and she still had it here, and she was next to, and he came into like a bullshit version of Back in Black. It was like an off-key version, so they didn't get sued, and it was hilarious. And then he goes against Lance Storm. And it's a pretty, I don't want to say generic wrestling match, but it's good in between the rope action. But there's just so much more on this card that's too believable. And I'm not a guy that always prefers the big guys going at it over the smaller guys. But there was guys that really went to war on this thing. And I don't think these two is that.
No, because they were just wrestlers.
And it wasn't bad, and it added a flavor to the show, but I think Incredible and Lynn almost added that better.
Yeah. mainly because of the fact that, like, again, Lance Storm is not a gimmick. Chris Candido, his name is no gimmicks needed. So
That's Skip.
yeah,
Both are good in the ring.
yeah,
He was a gimmick in the WWE or WWF.
yeah. So, like, oh, she's gonna set off that trap.
Misty.
Get away from there.
Uh-oh.
That's why you have cat. Never have a cat that's stupid.
Why? What happened?
What were you saying?
But yeah, like, you had Chris Candido who said he was no gimmicks needed. You have Lance Storm who had a charisma bypass, who basically had all his charisma surgically removed. And like,
Yeah, he had no charisma, but he was good in the ring.
stop. Don't make me call you Len. But yeah, like, so it was a basic match. I mean, the wrestling was fine, but it's just like, let's get to the stuff that's more exciting.
Yeah, and it's like I don't want to,
Exactly.
because the crowd's kind of a bloodthirsty crowd. Because ECW is known for that, but there was certain moments in this card, like guys would start wrestling, and then you would hear the crowd get a little silent, and then the table would get bright,
Yeah.
and then they would start fucking, and then a chair would get bright, and then they would cheer up when the weapons got introduced. So it was a little bloodthirsty, but this match kind of, and I wasn't trying to be a bloodthirsty fan, like let's get to the brutality, but it was a little like. I like the story of the triple threat going against it. Lance Storm used to be boys with this guy, and now they're going against, and his wife's involved, and I thought it was a cool little story that they told. But I would only give it a 3.
I would even just say 2.5.
I would give it a 3.
I thought it was
two solid wrestlers.
It was decent in the ring action, but ECW had better in the past with Benoit and Eddie and Ray and Psychosis and all those guys.
Is Lance Storm from the Bret Hart Factory?
He was trained there, yeah. I mean, it's called the Dungeon. It's not called the Bret Hart Factory.
I just call it the Bret Hart Factory.
You don't see a fucking machine, fucking Bret Hart's just getting pumped out like fucking gingerbread cookies.
This is just coming out. I got screwed. Fuck, Vince.
What is this all about?
That's just the first thing that popped in my head, so I just said it. Sorry.
The Bret Hart Factory.
Bret Hart Factory.
I was wondering if you were going to let that pass.
No.
Bossman would kill me.
What if there was a Bret Hart Factory?
I'll make Bret Harts.
Yeah.
I love
Are you kidding? Mom would fucking love that.
I have totally changed my opinion on Bret Hart in adulthood. I have become such a fan of that man. Especially with how bitter he is. I love the bitterness.
Yeah. Well, plus he sent well wishes to our mama.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to pay him $100.
And he's got a great signature. But he's one of the greatest to ever lace up a pair of boots. And he's wrestled in ECW. And him in a ring, any wrestling ring, is a great match. You can just go back and watch. He's one of the guys, if I were to pick 5, that I can only watch their matches. He'd be on the list. Because Bret Hart, he was just phenomenal, and he added a flair to other people. He could add to Steve Austin's sauce. He could add to Shawn Michaels. He could add to Undertaker. Like he could make Diesel look good. Like he was just he was the guy, and for a very long time.
Oh yeah,
and a hell of a career. So I've definitely come around on Bret Hart.
Yeah, that's nice to hear. I mean, Boxman probably don't want to hear it, but.
Well, the WWE can watch the WWE documentaries and just see him bitching, and like he bitches a lot. So it's like, yeah, he bitches a lot. But then it's like I look back and it's like, oh, they killed his brother. Oh, they fucked him over and took his title. Oh, they did all this shit, and I know like they don't take responsibility and shit. But it's like you're putting them in that situation, man. And I'm not trying to bring up any legalities and shit, but it's like. He's got every right to kind of hate people sometimes. Oh, Goldberg kicked him in the head. Fuck Goldberg. Like it's kind of you'd start to hear him talking. It's like it makes sense. Everything he's saying.
Well,
It makes fucking sense.
well, there's one woman's opinion.
Bret Hart's the fucking man.
She didn't say that.
She pretty much. Good man. No, she's doing great.
Yeah.
But what the fuck are you doing, Eric? You stupid. But no, Bret Hart. He's the fucking man. Let's move on to probably one of the best matches of the night. I would give this number 2 if I were to rank them. Masato Tanaka against Mike Awesome.
I loved this match. I thought it was. I mean, well, first of all, I love their whole feud because their matches are just they beat the fuck out of each other, and it's so fun to watch. Even the last match they had against each other at One Night Stand 2005, which Joey Styles refused to call. Or like, I mean, he was on the call during the match, but all he did was insult Mike Awesome for leaving the company. And Mick Foley's like, and Mick Foley kept trying to be like, well, Joey, you know, he is a tremendous athlete. And Joey's like, I don't care how much of a tremendous athlete he is. He fucked us over, and which he did. But here's the thing, Joe. All right.
It's business.
If you did not want to get fucked over so much, fork over some money. Because these guys are not gonna fucking have their testicles put in a blender, you know, for 50 cents. All right, it's got to be some top dollar.
Yeah, especially they're selling out buildings.
Yeah, so like they have to get paid if they're gonna do half the shit that they fucking
Put their
do.
testicles in a blender is amazing. Did anyone ever do it? They can't have done that.
First of all, I think that if that were ever done, New Jack would probably have been the guy to do it.
Yeah. We'd have to start there for sure.
Yeah. But like, so that's the.
Don't you touch me? Get out of the way. You're sick.
You guys are funny.
In so many different ways.
You're feeling better.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So like that match was just fantastic. I mean, to use a pun, yes, it was awesome.
Yeah,
And-
it was fucking amazing. Tanaka played the perfect underdog and played the young kid with the heart trying to fucking get through it. And Mike Awesome played the perfect, big, tough, fucking rugged heel. And it like they made him look so like you look. I was watching WCW 2000 recently, and I watched the fat chick Thriller, Mike Awesome, and I watched that 70s guy, and I watched the terrible gimmicks that Vince Russo strapped him with, and I was just like, let him awesome bomb motherfuckers. He is a cool, big, and the mullet speaks for itself. He does not need to be a 70s guy. Let him fucking awesome bomb people through a table. And when fucking Tanaka hit the awesome bomb on him through the table, oh my God, was that money. That was so
awesome.
fucking good. This was a hard-hitting, this was pro wrestling at its best. Two tough motherfuckers that looked like they could beat the shit out of each other, going to fucking war, actually beating the shit out of each other, and one guy coming out, the underdog coming out victorious over the big tough guy. That is pro wrestling done perfectly. And that's what
The
this
crowd
match
loved it.
in 11 minutes it did it.
Yeah. 11 minutes, fantastic. I'm giving it a 5 because I personally like this was my favorite match of the night. Although you know a couple other ones I did like too, so they're probably going to be up there as well. But Masato Tanaka and Mike Awesome, I love Mike Awesome in ECW. I feel like he got fucked over in WCW, and I feel like he really wasn't given a chance in WWE.
This was him and here in Japan are the two Mike Awesome tapes you got to watch.
Yeah. And
ECW in Japan.
I feel like if they would have brought ECW back right away in 2005, he would have been part of the deal.
Yeah.
And if he would have been part of the deal, he could have had a. I mean, well, depending on what they would have done.
Him and Big Show could have done something.
Him and Big Show could have done something. I could see him working with somebody like. I could see him doing stuff with Edge, stuff with Cena.
Fuck him and Punk, him and fucking RVD in the main event for the ECW title. That would have instead of fucking Ric Flair,
Yeah.
instead of Big Show and Batista in the Hammerstein Ballroom. getting booed out of the fucking building.
Yeah. I mean, if they would have brought back a lot of the guys, like in 2006, a lot of the guys that they brought back, because everybody got brought back for 2005.
Yeah.
All right. Because they thought it was just going to be a one-time deal. And then they wanted to bring back ECW permanently. And a lot of the guys were not going to be like, they're just like, no, this is stupid. But then, like, you bring back guys who were like heavy, like crowd favorites, like Danny Doring and Roadkill, and you use them mainly for jobs.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, Hardcore Holly, he's called Hardcore. We're putting him in ECW.
Yeah,
he's going to ECW, pal. It's like we're doing the most like dumb shit, and fucking as soon as you turn on the TV to the Sci-Fi Network and you watch Sandman hit a zombie with a cane, you're like, oh, we're doomed. we're doomed. It's not happening. And then, like I said, by episode 5 or 6, you got Big Show and Batista into the crowd saying, "Same old shit, same old shit."
Yeah.
So fucking it went right fast. But the Paul Heyman's ECW was a whole.
It wasn't even an ECW like crowd. It was like the WWE crowd.
And this was an ECW. Crowd in an ECW match, and I would give it a 4.8 myself. Because
I'll give it 4.5.
The top. But fucking, this is right up there with some of the better matches I've ever seen. But these guys have had multiple great matches.
Yeah.
So this was a great one, but it's a great rivalry. It's one of the best ECW rivalries of all time that spanned Japan and all sorts of places. Moving on, I don't know if it's before this match, but New Jack gets attacked by the Dudleys.
Yeah, I think it's actually after the second match. So it's after Candido and Lance Storm, I believe. But yeah, he gets attacked by the Dudleys, and then once you see that, it's like, oh, he's coming out at the end.
I didn't think so. I thought New Jack was done. I thought they took him out and he got wheeled off and he was done. I did not think he was going to.
I don't know. Did you see them fillet the man? Like, unless you fucking cut him open and rip his heart out, he is coming back. I mean, and even if you cut him open and rip his heart out, I think he'll still fucking find a way to come back.
Listen, New Jack being the top babyface and the savior of the pay-per-view is not something that I was going to call walking into this thing. But they somehow managed to do it, and they told a great story with it. And it started with them beating the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And who else? Who's the dude with the blonde hair?
Jack Victory.
Those guys got the jump on him. Axel and Balls tried to help.
Yeah.
But it wasn't enough. And they beat the shit out of New Jack. And then New Jack got wheeled off. And they do a promo about how they did it and how they're going to destroy Tommy, Sandman, and Spike.
Yeah. I'll never forget, though, like when New Jack was finally given a title shot against Mike Awesome.
Yeah.
And they were talking. They're like, Joel Gertner asked Joey, he's like, why did it take Paulie so long to give New Jack a world title shot? And, Joey just looks at Joel and it's just like, you're kidding, right? This guy is a public relations nightmare. If he wins the world title and is our champion, we're more than likely getting thrown off the air and never getting another deal again. But Paulie also realizes how popular he was.
He was so fucking over.
Yeah.
The crowd loves New Jack. New Jack is the guy. And he's just fucking, and he has everybody behind him. When he comes out and does his gangster shit and starts kicking ass, everybody loves it. He's so over with that crowd.
Yeah.
As far as like a national, like if you're trying to take this thing big, I don't know if you want him as the face. And I know, and that's a guy that lives the fucking gimmick. But fucking, he's a wild man. And fucking, he R.I.P. And he did some crazy shit. And but he was super over. The fans loved him.
Yeah.
He was a big deal in ECW. We find that out later on in the paper.
Yeah. Do you ever hear the story about how the Gangstas actually left Smoky Mountain and went to ECW?
I think so, but go ahead.
So Cornette was tired of getting all the hate mail from all the because the New Jacks were the Gangstas were really pushing it. They were like really like pushing the boundaries, and Cornette was getting too many, people, up his ass. And so in like 90, and they had been there like a year. So in 95, Cornette's like, you know what? I got to find somewhere else for these guys to go before I end up in fucking jail.
Yeah.
So he's like, you know what? I think they're tailor-made for ECW. So Cornette had Heyman's number.
He made it happen.
And he's like, hey, can you use these guys? Well, it turns out New Jack and Mustafa had already, like, Heyman, because Heyman was very famous for, if he saw a guy he liked, he would call them right away without getting before getting somebody's permission to call them. He wouldn't call the promoter first. He would call the promoter after and ask them permission, even though he had already talked to him.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Okay. So, like, Heyman had already made a deal with the Gangstas. And he's like, well, Jim, thank you for, definitely interested. And so Cornette goes to one of them. I think it's either Mustafa or New Jack, and goes,
It would have to be either one of them.
yeah.
So
Go-
2 guys in the fucking tag team.
Well, I mean, D'Lo was part of the group. But goes to New Jack or Mustafa and is like, hey, you're going to go to ECW. And he already goes, oh, yeah, we are. And I think it was Mustafa goes, oh, yeah, we already know. And Cornette's like, what? He goes, oh, yeah, we already know. Well, he's like, well, you got to finish your bookings here first. We do? We weren't told that. So Cornette calls Heyman again, and he's like, Paul, I'm getting kind of iffy signals here. Like, I gotta, they have to finish their bookings here first. I have them till the end of the month, and then you can have them. Absolutely, they got to finish your bookings. But let me know if you fire them. And then he hung up the phone. And Cornette's like, what the hell is he doing? So they quit. Mustafa quit showing up to TV, and then New Jack disappeared. But then Mustafa quit showing up to TV, but then there's something happened or whatever, and Cornette's just like, fuck it, and wrote him off TV because he saw that they had already debuted on ECW's television, right? It saw that they were already going in, so he wrote them off TV. And Mustafa's like, all right, well, screw it, I don't need to go back.
Yeah.
New Jack showed up to the last TVs he was booked at for Cornette.
Well, there you go. It's a constant professional.
Yeah, and he's like, Jack, what the hell are you doing here? I thought you were in ECW. He goes, I'm booked. He goes, no, I took you off. You did? He goes, yeah. He goes, but because of the fact that you showed up and, you're doing the right thing, which is a surprise, I'm going to pay you. So he gave him the $100 or whatever that he would make for doing the TV. And New Jack's like, all right, sweet. Do I have to do anything? And Cornette's like, not really. He goes, all right.
That's sick.
Yeah. So
New Jack made his booking. Well, there you go. And all the negative things that have been said about New Jack over the years, he made his booking. Damn it.
yeah, I mean, even after already fucking over Cornette, but like there was a silver lining. It's like,
I was booked.
Yeah, I was booked, so I'm here.
Yep, he showed up.
Yeah. All right. Into the next match, we have a very confident and arrogant Rob Van Dam, which is fun seeing him in this light.
Oh yeah,
Just being the ultimate douche showboat with Sabu and the whistle-blowing bastard Bill Alfonso.
Oh, I fucking hate. Oh, I hate that whistle-blowing jackass.
That was annoying.
Hayabusa and Lord help me, Jinsei Shinzaki.
Just call him Hakushi.
Hakushi. Who I've always been a fan of. I loved him in WWE. I thought they should have done more with him. But those two against Rob Van Dam and Sabu, they go 20 minutes. It's the longest match on the card, and it's a really fun, good tag match.
Yeah, and it's funny because like Rob Van Dam and Sabu, all they wanted to do was outshine one another.
And Sabu getting the last laugh at the end was so good when they put him through the double tables and then he pushes RVD.
Yeah, he's like, get the
Yeah.
fuck off this guy.
He's like, "You dick." And then RVD's still like after he grabs the belt, like, yeah, we won. It was just so good. It was, and those they all beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
They went to the extreme. The tables were great. The chair spots were awesome. Flying into the crowd, it had everything, and it was a really
Yeah,
good
it-
ECW tag match.
Yeah.
This is a 4.8 for me too.
I'm gonna say 4.5. I mean, I did like this match. It was very good. Again, there's just stuff I like better. Bill Alfonso, for as annoying as he is, when he had to put the work in, he did.
Yeah, he's a good.
Like when he put the work in that match against Beulah,
He's a good heel manager.
which by the way saved his job
Yeah.
because he was supposed he was gonna go to WCW, but then he kind of changed his mind because he didn't want to hurt Heyman, but Heyman was gonna fire him anyway. But then he had the match with Beulah and he bled for her and he put her over. And Heyman's like, all right, you're staying.
That was a good match. That's
Yeah.
still a classic match. But yeah. Bill Alfonso was a good manager, and he was a good heel. He was annoying. He made you hate him. So.
Yeah. You know, he started out as a ref, right?
Yeah.
He started out as a ref in WWE. Or actually, no, I think he started out as a ref in WCW and then went to WWE.
How long was he a ref?
At least 5 years.
Was he like an underneath ref? Did he do a lot of main events? Or?
I don't think, no, he didn't do a lot of main events. Those were usually saved for, in WCW, they were saved for Randy Anderson and Nick Patrick. And in WWE, they were saved for Earl Hebner and Joey Morella. So I remember Bill Alfonso as the referee that tried to tell the referee that got knocked out at WrestleMania 9 that an illegal doink, knocked out Crush. And then when they looked under the ring, they couldn't find him.
An illegal doink. That's hilarious. But yeah, this match was very good. Eric, what would you rate it?
I'll give it a 4.5. I thought it was a solid match. You had different styles in this match, especially from Japanese guys. So I thought all around it was a good match.
Yeah, I thought it was a really fun tag match.
Yeah.
Hard hitting.
Yeah.
And then we get a good promo from Taz. Shane Douglas gets pissed at commentary because him and Francine are sitting there with Joey. And Taz, he's going against the triple threat. He's coming for that world title. And this is the fun era when he has the FTW title to fuck the world. And this is when it actually means something. And it's not Jericho with the learning tree. And Taz made it because Douglas was hurt and wouldn't fight him for the title. And so Taz made his own belt and said, fuck you. And then it's him and Bam Bam. And this is my favorite match of the evening.
Yeah.
This stole the show for me because this had the big fight feel, that had the big spots, and Taz looked great, even though he's so much smaller than Bam Bam. Bam Bam put him over and made him look like $1 million. And Bam Bam also got his shit in and looked like a tough badass. And it did everything right. And it was just like Tanaka and Awesome, but almost like tenfold and a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I thought this was like the perfect match of the evening, and it had everything. And I know I've said that about a lot, but they put each other through tape. They went through the ramp. They did the ramp spot. And then Taz popping up out of the ramp to hit the Taz mission. Like they had perfect spots in the match. And Shane Douglas
Great
commentary, and then fucking exploding after and fucking leaving, and he storms out.
Throws a monitor down at people in the crowd.
It was just so good, and I think it really worked for the pay-per-view. Yeah. And it said that could have been the main event, and people would have went home happy. But even as not the main event, it was a perfect co-main event.
I think it should have been the main event.
Yeah.
No, I like what they did.
Now, 1998, it's funny. 1998, because, and Francine said this, those tits cost her $6,000.
Yeah.
Like in 1998, breast implants still cost $6,000.
Wow.
I mean, now I'm sure they cost like $60,000. Not that I'm looking to get any or anything. I might buy Eric a pair for Christmas.
Seems like it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it depends on when I decide to go into pre-op. Jesus. I'm keeping the beard though.
You better.
You guys are.
He's keeping the beard and the bald head. He's keeping the same face.
Yeah, I'm keeping the same face, but I'm getting
the tits.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
I mean, it'd be the perfect look if I was going to join Barnum and Bailey's circus.
100%.
Yeah.
All right.
By the way, I give that match a 4.8.
4.8.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Eric, what did you give it?
Give it a 4.5. I'll change it to 5.
Yeah, I'm going 5. To me, this is the perfect match of the night.
This was my favorite match of the night too.
Yeah. And plus, you got to love Joey Styles. Well, I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to. I choose not to. But Joey Styles basically saying, Taz, he's in a main event spot, but he is the most miserable son of a bitch on the planet.
No one works better for this audience and this crowd
Joey
and this
Styles.
product than Joey Styles. Joey is perfect for this. And the promo that he cuts right after this about the Dudley Boys is the perfect encapsulation of that. Like, it's like everything we loved when JR would get pissed at Triple H. You son of a bitch! It's the same shit, but it's like his hatred towards the Dudleys. And he's like, I'm not being biased. You're a fucking asshole. Like, he was just so good. He was so good at his, like, he was believable. It was a real promo, and he was a character on the show, and he was showing his frustration and how mad he is at those damn dirty Dudleys. And he did such a good job at it. I thought it was a great promo from him. And yeah, he's the play-by-play guy, but this is ECW, and it's different. And he doesn't have to be fucking unbiased. He can say, hey, this is bullshit. And I like that he did that.
Yep.
It made him different. And that's what makes ECW different.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, and I like that. I mean, yeah, it does make him kind of sound like a little like, a little bitter, not necessarily bitter, but it's just like, yeah, he's biased and all that. But in all honesty, Vince McMahon was always biased. Eric Bischoff, Tony Schiavone, a lot.
The best commentators are by JR was always rooting for the good guys and King's rooting for the bad guys.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being biased. And Joey, the only thing I will say about him is he can come off as a bit whiny.
Yeah.
But here, to me, it worked for that, for what he was trying to do. I thought it worked perfectly. And I thought he was great on the call.
I mean, it did.
And he did good by himself, too, when Shane left. Because he's always good by himself. Yeah. And then we get into the main event of the evening, which is the damn Dirty Dudleys. Bubba Ray, Devon Testify, and Big Dick. With Joel and Sign Guy and Jeff Jones. And they are going against the guys fighting for ECW that represent ECW, Tommy Dreamer, the Sandman, and Spike Dudley, which I think is a perfect combination.
Oh, yeah.
And these guys go to war for almost 15 minutes. And it's a street fight. And it starts out in the ring like an actual wrestling match, and then in like 5 minutes it dissolves into the street fight. And I think that's booked perfectly.
Yeah.
I think whoever produced that, or if they did it on the fly, it was perfect.
It kind of reminds me of that No Way Out in Texas that WWF did like earlier in the year. And it was the DX. Well, it was Triple H, the New Age Outlaws, and Savio Vega because Sean didn't feel like working versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, Cactus Jack, Chainsaw Charlie, and Owen Hart. And it was one of those, it was no holds barred. So they spent like the first like 10, 15 minutes brawling outside the ring. And then they finally turned it into a match because Earl Hebner would not shut up. Earl Hebner just kept yelling at him. Or I think it was Earl. But so then finally they got in there and they did a thing where they started working over Cactus. They started working over Chainsaw. And then Austin came in, hit the stunner on Road Dogg, and then got the win.
Yeah.
So this match kind of gave me those vibes.
Yeah.
I mean, probably not as big as. I mean, well, they're big. They're big stars in ECW.
100%. And well, Spike, Tommy, and Sandman were like and it's more. And no offense to Spike, Spike's the ultimate underdog.
Yeah, I
So
was
I
gonna
think
say
he
that.
works in that. But like those are the three faces right there, especially the two faces. Sandman and Tommy are the two faces of ECW. But add Spike Dudley, and you have an underdog with a shit ton of heart, and someone who has a natural connection to the Dudleys, and that just makes this thing even more special. And that end shot and New Jack coming out at the end, we alluded to it earlier, but he comes out at the end to the gangsters music, and he fucking comes out and he starts whooping Dudley ass. And then and they beat the shit out of the Dudleys, and then they have all the three ladders lined up, which I thought they had a big one, a middle one, and a tiny one. And I thought the tiny one was going to be for Spike, but poor Tommy got it. And fucking, they had Tommy on that one, New Jack on the middle one, and Sandman on the big one with the cane and the cigarette, and fucking and fucking going like this, and Spike's fucking walking around like a lunatic, and it's a perfect visual to end the pay-per-view.
I bet you that's the way it was originally supposed to be. Was those three guys on the ladder and then New Jack walking around, but he probably didn't feel like walking, so he just got on the ladder.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not taking the little one. Fuck you, Tommy.
Yeah.
But it works. Those three guys on the ladders fucking going like that, and then fucking Spike walking around. And then him fucking ending his like stop in the middle of the ring and posing. That was a perfect way to end the pay-per-view. That you're sending the crowd happy. The baby faces won. They beat the shit out of the heels that were talking all this shit and beating all these guys' asses, and they fucking triumphed. And fucking and New Jack was the hottest baby face in the building, and it's crazy. But everybody loved the ending of and everybody in that crowd went home happy. And I thought it was a great babyface way to end a pay-per-view. Exactly. And you have so many babyface endings to WrestleManias and so many other pay-per-views. But this was, for ECW and what they do, this was a great way for them to end it. With everybody like, fuck yeah. You left that going, fuck yeah. And that raises this because the action in between was good, but we saw better throughout. So I would give the match a 4.2, but the ending really fucking ramps it up and it brings it home on a great note.
Yeah. I would give it a 4.7 just because I really, and the fact that like Dreamer was able to get the win. He got the revenge for what happened to his wife.
Yeah, because they broke Beulah's neck.
Yeah.
So that was the story there, that Tommy was avenging them or avenging her. So it was cool that he got the win, but then he got his ass kicked right after in Jack Victory, and it's like, oh my God, what the fuck are we doing here? Tommy can never get a moment, and then New Jack, it's like, yeah, and it works perfectly.
Well, once Jack Victory showed up, I'm like, all right, I can see what's coming. One of the best spots, though, and I feel like we should talk about this, is the spot where Joel Gertner got involved. So referee Jim Molyneux got involved. Yeah. And Bubba in one corner, Big Penis in another corner, Devon in another corner, and then Joel Gertner, all upside down trio wall. Yeah. Well, technically, it is called the trio wall.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
The trio wall was what Goldust did.
No, that's Shattered Dreams. But all upside down trio wall, and then everybody does the drop kick into the chair into the face, including Jim Molyneux on Joel Gertner, and that was fucking that was awesome.
The referee getting involved was hilarious. And Joel Gertner's big chubby belly hanging out through his shirt. Yeah. And all the Dudley and everyone's upset. And they're all sitting there with the chairs and they're like, yeah, let's do it. And the referee's like, fuck yeah. And then they all just kick him in the face. It's so good. It is one of the best. I'm glad you brought that up because that is one of the funnest spots where you're like, hell yeah, let's go. That really and it got such a big pop too. The crowd loved it.
Yeah.
So that spot really worked in the match. And the Dudleys were such good heels, and they made these guys look fucking awesome. And Spike even getting his ass kicked. Spike looked fucking good, man. Everybody like this was a tremendous street fight. And street fights can go, various ways. For a multiple man street fight with it, and it felt like that ECW chaos of Tommy's kicking ass in the ring. Oh, they're over there. Oh, and then like everyone's doing their own thing, and it's like getting shot in different ways. Like I thought that really worked, and that's what kind of made the product. And it was like the whole thing was a highlight reel. This was a great street fight.
I give it a 4.5. We forgot to mention the promo that Bubba cut before the match.
I talked about it.
Okay.
Yeah, we did.
And then Devon hit the testify, but it was a great heel promo from Bubba.
Yeah, it was.
Earlier on in the night and before but honestly, not his best. The one in front of the crowd that you're talking about, not his best. He just said he was going to kick everybody's ass. And he made one fucking your mother joke. But I'm used to, like, I've seen old clips of Bubba spitting on people and fucking really and fucking them. Like, all he really did was get on the turnbuckle and say that he would beat everybody's ass. He didn't really, he didn't incite the riot that he usually does. But it did get heat and it wasn't bad. But I've seen better Bubba ECW promos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's one of my favorite in the business. Ever. Bubba's in my top 20.
Oh, yeah.
He definitely is one of the best heels. I mean, I've got a better respect for him now, just hearing like a lot of the stuff he says on Busted Open. Yeah. Because like you can kind of be like, all right, he does know what he's talking about.
Yeah, being under Paul for so long, he's an unsung like genius.
Yeah.
He's not he's not to the level of some like a Paul or even a Cornette for me. But he is like idea and story wise, and I've listened to his shit on Busted Open, and I've heard his idea, and like he's a great idea, man. He would be great in any booking room.
Oh yeah, I've said he should be in AEW.
Yeah, he should be working with anybody on a story. If they're trying to get a story, AEW especially that needs a good story, yeah, he's the best guy to come in. And the whole Renee thing I was talking about, that a lot of that was him. He was saying about doing something, and he had a great plan for Renee. Tommy's good too, but Bubba knows what he's talking about.
Here's what I would love. I would love, and maybe Busted Open can make this happen because they have enough connections. Get Bubba, Cornette, Heyman, and Nash all in a room together.
Oh my God.
And just tell them, okay, just give them some story. Just tell them, be like, all right, book AEW for like the next, like,
it would be
the next, like, 6 months or whatever. Put them back on track. Now, I mean, Cornette would probably never fucking do it.
That should be world champion within 3 months.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
But that would be, wouldn't that be like fucking like the views for that would be.
Well, that's one of the best booking committees you can put, especially if you're going like podcasters that we get to really see that and pick their brains a little bit by hearing them talk about shit.
Yeah.
The Cornette and Heyman together would be a force to be, and I know they've never. Theoretically, their views of wrestling are so different that I don't know if those two could make a product together. But those two in a room together alone would be genius. And then you add the other two, and you have even more. Those are Bubba, because Bubba's even said, "You give me a story. Don't make me come up with one from scratch. You give me the ideas of one, and then let me work."
Which those guys would do.
Paul Heyman comes up with something and then add into this, like, that's money.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that, like, I feel like Sean Oliver, who does the podcast with Cornette, or not with Cornette, with Nash, is already like, maybe because, the idea was kind of put out there. It's like, well, what if Cornette and Nash work together? And Nash isn't against it because he feels like him and Cornette would actually agree on shit.
Yeah. And they would, because they do have similar views of the business and an old school approach. Nash has, even though like Nash gets a bad rap, and especially because he won the title, but fucking he in the finger poke and shit. But Nash has this old school approach to wrestling that does work, and it's Jim Cornette's old school that like get two tough guys that look like they can fight and have them fucking go to, like I said about Awesome Tanaka, get something like that in the ring. And it doesn't have to be hardcore like that one, but you just get those guys and have them work their shit and get the audience into it and do something like that. They have that approach to it. And then you have Paul Heyman with the ideas, fresh ideas.
Yeah.
Because for an old man, that's a guy that can still churn out fresh fucking genius ideas. If we did a tier list of that, all those guys are in the A list, but like he almost has his own tier.
Yeah.
He's a different level because we don't know what he's fed to Vince in the modern era that worked.
Right.
Especially with Brock and everything. Like he's just not only as a manager, but like as a creative force, Paul Heyman is fucking next to none.
Yeah, and
he's everything Vince Russo wants to be.
Yeah. But yeah, like I would love to see that. Like Dave LaGreca, if you're listening to this, which I don't think you are, or Dreamer or whoever.
He's friendly on Facebook.
Yeah.
Won't accept my fucking request.
I don't know what I did right. But like please, like it needs to happen. Like the four of them, like we need.
And you can even add in a couple. You could add a Tommy too, and you could add like a fucking who else? You could put Arn in there or something.
I mean, Arn Anderson, I think, is a good mind. I wouldn't say Bischoff because Bischoff will just say fix AEW, just fucking pull the plug.
He's like, we're bringing in Hogan.
Yeah,
we're bringing we're doing the NWO.
But like even just like you putting him in there and doing like a panel discussion and just like giving these guys like certain topics in wrestling history and be like, all right, well, what did you guys think? And just hear them just like talk or like asking them about like certain things that are going on today and just hearing their opinions on people. Like,
go ahead and finish it.
I was gonna say like you can even add like a Bret Hart in there because I do feel like Bret could actually be a good mind if.
Well, if you had all those guys, you got to give people certain people, right? So you give Nash Moxley and have him work on the fucking Death Rider shit, and you give Nash that shit. You give Bret Hart, Sammy Guevara, the Hurt Syndicate, and a bunch of some of the underneath guys that need to slow down the pace. Not the Hurt Syndicate. The give Cornette the Hurt Syndicate.
Yeah,
but fucking because he would know what to do with them, but he knows how to book Shelton Benjamin. But give fucking.
I would give Bret Hart like Daniel Garcia.
Give him Daniel Garcia. Give him Leo Rush. Give him guys that could slow down a bit, but they are great potential, like awesome athletes and great workers. But that Bret could really put some work in with. Give him those guys. Even give him Darby, and fucking.
I would also give Bret Mercedes Moné because I feel like if anybody can kind of like put her in check,
which I do think she's doing better work than people say. I think she's a great heel. I like Mercedes. I think she gets way too much flack.
She's getting a lot of shit.
She's not the biggest bust in fucking wrestling. Like she's not a financial bust.
No, that was Brandy Rhodes.
Hey,
as a wrestler.
I mean,
as a wrestler.
Did she get paid that much to be a wrestler though? Like, get the fuck out of here. Fucking.
I can't. I'm waiting for dinner.
I know. And we're about to end the show, so we already talked about the ECW. We'll give it a rating. So, but yeah, I do. Mercedes Moné, I think, has been worth the investment in ways that, like, the Britt Baker match was not her fault, and she added spectacle. And I think that she's been a good heel champion and a good like asshole, like the whole I'm the boss, I'm the CEO, and you have to accept it, and people hate her for it. I think she leans into it great, and just the people that are like, oh, Camille's fucking, she's holding Camille back. It's like, get the fuck out of here.
No,
yeah,
she's gonna turn on her soon at some point.
Yeah, like the whole thing. Well, we appreciate that. Thank you. From the Wrestling Memories podcast. So, yeah, we'll get that on display for 5 seconds. Yeah, definitely. But like, so, do we want to go into? Do we want to go into final thoughts?
Final thoughts on a rating, yeah. Give it.
All right. I thought that this was a really fun show. I do think that ECW really started, even though like the downfall of the company is like 2000. I do think that in like 98, I do think their best years were 98 through 2000. Even though I know a lot of people say, oh, well, 97, they did some awesome stuff. 98, they really had something with Taz.
Yeah. He was a really good draw.
Yeah.
And even him, like, fuck Goldberg, fuck Steve Austin, I'm the guy. It's like, yeah, you are, Taz.
Yeah. I mean, those guys took bigger poops than however tall you are, but still, it was, but fantastic show,
Yes.
top to bottom. We're going out of 5, right?
Yeah.
All right. I'll give it a 4.9.
All right. I would give it a 4.9 as well. I think it was a tremendous show that showed everything that ECW has to offer, from great wrestling to great action to fun storylines to everything. I thought it worked. I thought it's one of the better ECW pay-per-views to check it out. I could not recommend it enough. It's a 4.9. Eric, take us home.
I thought the show was solid. It was probably one of the best better pay-per-views that we've reviewed, and we reviewed a lot. I look forward to doing more ECW ones because I love how the crowd is, especially in Philadelphia. I'm being biased, but surprised. But yeah, I'll give it a 4.5. I thought it was a solid show. Every match I enjoyed.
Oh, yeah. And we'll see everybody next week for Turkey Day for our special Thanksgiving episode next Friday. We're going to be doing Survivor Series 1988, the Mega Powers and the Towers.
Oh, we're going to do that instead?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
So we'll see everybody next week.
Yeah.
Survivor Series 1988.
Okay.
Eric,
1988.
you promised me 99, you asshole.
Next time.
Yeah.
We're going to do a Golden Age, and we'll see everybody next week. Goodbye.
See ya.
Later.